Hello, happy Sunday. So today's story kind of takes me back to the origins of improbable joy and where this whole idea of improbable joy began. So before I start, you have to understand like some history. I have kidney stones, okay? I've had kidney stones for a long time. Most of the time they just sit there, no big deal. But every once in a while, one of those little kidney stones decides to move. And that, as many of you know, can be very painful. So Thursday night, this past week, just a few days ago, I ended up in the ER. I was home, I was getting ready to go to the gym, and all of a sudden, it just hits you, like this pain that just won't go away. So I drove myself to the ER, which kind of upset my parents, and then later, of course, upset my sister as well. They were not happy with me that I had driven myself, but honestly, part of it was I didn't want to wait for anybody to come to get me. I just needed to be there because the pain was so bad, right? So anyways, but I think in their absence, the interesting thing about this was I was able to connect with the people who were there in the hospital treating me in a way that I otherwise wouldn't be able to connect. Now, it's not to say that I couldn't, but because I was there by myself, and I chose when I got there not to call right away as well, because I thought there's nothing they can do, right? So I'm in the ER, and the nurse that came in to take care of me, the first guy was Nathan, but he was going off shift, right? Super nice guy. But then Easton came on, and Easton was on his second shift at Fargo Sanford Hospital. He's been married for 1.5 years. He's from Oregon. He's a traveling nurse, and he's here with his wife, who is also an ER nurse. That's joy. I'm just saying, like, me in pain. I still didn't have an IV at that point. I was in pain, but connecting with him and hearing about his life. And he's been married for 1.5 years, and they're excited to travel together. And this is his first traveling assignment. And he's like, what am I doing in North Dakota? But he loved the hospital. Second shift, super nice young kid. My other nurse, her name was Louisa. We talked about the origins of her interesting name, Louisa. She wheeled me to the CT and connected with me in those moments traveling down the hall, and just super incredibly amazing. I felt connected to her. And then, of course, Dr. Baki, my emergency room physician. I started to question, with him whether or not I'd made the right decision to come in, because the pain was subsiding very quickly. Now, the pain meds, of course, helped, but I got fluids and all that good stuff, and I was eventually released that same night. And this has happened before, so whatever. But I started to question, like, did I jump the gun? And I didn't. I waited an hour. I was in extreme pain for an hour, but your mind starts to play those games, like, am I wasting resources of the emergency room? He was so kind and so compassionate with his words to me in saying that, no, Kip, you didn't waste our time. You didn't waste our resources. He's like, kidney stones can be a very serious thing, and you're always right to make that decision to come and see us. I just couldn't have been more lucky to feel such a connection to people in a time when I was in extreme pain and, wondering, is this going to be the kidney stone that makes me have to have some kind of surgery to remove it, right? I've been lucky up to this point, but, your mind goes to those places. These people all were amazing. So, all I could do is complete the survey that got emailed to me. And I said kind things about them because it started to make me wonder. I said, it started to make me wonder and think about my friend Noelle, who was a chaplain for almost 20 years in a hospital in Iowa City. And, she was there in those moments of trauma for people for so long. And I wondered, does she know the extent to which she helped those people? Because you only get them in those traumatic moments, and then they move on. They check out of the hospital, and they go on, and they maybe seek therapy other places for the trauma that they've endured. And maybe they don't, but do you wonder? And I just want people like Noelle and people like Dr. Baki and Easton and Louisa to know that in those moments, they really do have an amazing ability to touch and change someone's life in a moment that's really, really difficult. So all I could do, fill out the survey and let them know. That's what I did. And as I said in the beginning, it just reminded me of the origins of improbable joy. And it reminded me also how easy it is to find joy in those really unexpected places because I was looking. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Love.